COVID baby coming down the chimney for me and Chris. He didn't get COVID. Just me. Welcome to HowDoWeHuman. It's the what is it we do? A podcast? It's the podcast where we overanalyze all of the weird and uncomfortable micro moments in life. This thing we call life. And I am one of your hosts, Evan Cox.
I'm one of your hosts, Chris Binning.
Today we're talking about the COVID. And as I just hinted, there's a reason. But before we get too, deep into what was big in the news 3 years ago and what now is sweeping the nation, but the news doesn't seem to give a shit about it. Before we get into that, Chris, I gotta know something about you.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Great question. I'm doing all right, but I wasn't necessarily doing great because I traveled for the holidays. And when you travel for the holidays, I'm a well-seasoned traveler. I feel like I travel relatively often, even if it's just like back to like my mom's house, like an hour
back
flight
to
Peru.
Phoenix.
But to Peru, to Bali, just like little casual little trips. But no, even if I just, make that simple trip back home, I feel like I fly relatively often. But when you travel in mid to late December, you're getting all of the people who travel only that one time.
Yes. Trouble.
Because people are nuts. Yeah. So I went from LA to Phoenix. My fiance and I spent a couple days with my family, and then we flew from Phoenix to Ohio to spend some time with her extended family, and then of course made that same flight back, Ohio back to Phoenix, then Phoenix to LA. And so that's a lot of travel time and a lot of time to see like just the most bizarre behavior in other travelers. There was the flight to Phoenix from California. The middle seat was open. I was flying Southwest, so it's any open seat, whatever. But the middle seat in between me and this other guy was open. Great. Now there's so much space between us. Nope. The guy, I was in the window seat. This guy in the aisle seat is like, oh, this empty middle seat is now also my seat. So the whole flight, he has the middle seat tray table down and has his laptop on it to watch Meet the Parents.
Come on.
Exactly.
Well, you gotta catch up.
Uses that tray table's cup holder for his drink. You're supposed to have your tray tables up in takeoff and landing. Not this guy. He's got it down the whole time.
Fuck.
When we're getting ready to push back from the gate, right? The flight attendant makes that announcement. We need everybody in their seats so that we can push back from the gate. My guy uses that to undo his seatbelt and go to the bathroom in the back of the plane. So now none of us can go anywhere because he's decided to delay us all. And it's when people do stuff like this, I feel like they're almost always in my row. And so I don't know, like, am I attracting the bad behavior? Like, I don't understand why I have the connection to it. But anyway, then we get going. We're on our way to Phoenix. We land in Phoenix. I have a bag in the overhead bin. Now, I'm maybe halfway back through the plane, And I'm not somebody who's like, as soon as the plane lands, I undo my seatbelt, I shove my way past every other passenger, and I
the worst.
make a run for the front door because it's important that I'm the first one off the plane because I'm a special little boy.
After hours. I gotta get off this thing.
But so we land, people start opening those overhead compartments. This older man is like the row in front of me, and he's just kind of looking around. And so another passenger is like, "Oh, are you looking for, like, do you need help getting your bag out of the overhead bin?" And he just kind of blankly stares with like a smile, just like there's nothing going on behind the eyes. And so this passenger goes, "Is this your bag? Let me get it for you." Grabs my bag, puts it down in the aisle, raises the handle up, and is like, "There you go." This older guy says absolutely nothing. Everybody starts deplaning. He gets off the plane, and now my bag is blocking everybody in the aisle because, of course, that old man didn't take the bag because it's not his.
It's not.
And so now people are like, "Well, whose bag is this?" And I have to be like, "It's mine." They're like, "Why is your bag here in the aisle?" It's like, I don't know. I'm in a window seat. It obviously wasn't me.
No.
Just put it in a row and I'll grab it in a second when I get off the plane. I go to baggage claim. I had a bag checked in also. There's this family there. A family of like 15 people.
Love that.
I saw them in the Burbank airport, and I know that they have like 20 bags checked in because they were like traveling with their entire house. I don't know. But every single bag that comes off the carousel, they take off of the carousel, check, look at the name, see it's not theirs, and put it back. What is happening? That was a long a travel day for a 1-hour flight.
Ay. That's terrible.
I know,
but
yeah.
Also, yeah, just one of those like reasons I love driving for the holidays. The flying over the holidays always sucks. It doesn't matter. It just always sucks.
Yeah.
People are bad news.
Yeah. I mean that was probably the worst of the 4 flights that I was on. There's some other weird stuff on some of the other flights, people taking like a full video of takeoff and landing, that's like 15 minutes long video. That like,
gosh,
you're not going to go back and watch that. So what are you doing?
Just gonna send it to everyone they know.
Enough about me. Evan, how you doing?
Fine. Doing fine.
Okay.
We'll get into
sounds like it.
We'll get into the nitty-gritty of it later. But for right now, I do want to talk about a situation that happened over Christmas time. I was simply having
Did the goose get fat?
Christmas time. I was hoping for a little more out of the goose this year. But again, the goose looked great, and I can't. No body shaming to that goose. Goose looked fucking. Wait a sec. We didn't have any goose. We had sandwiches and stuff.
Christmas is coming. The sandwiches are getting fat.
Do you know how much more appealing that sounds? I'd love just a fat Christmas sandwich. A cold cut. That sounds dope.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's we're celebrating Christmas early, which is good because we all got COVID. So got that out of the way. Spoilers. But so the kiddos are over. Both my sisters are over, and my brothers-in-laws, and my parents and myself, and we're doing our little, we're getting ready to do our little gift exchange. And I found myself in a situation where I had, obviously, because I travel, I did fly here this time, which sucks. Also, probably where I got COVID. But I had to have all my gifts shipped to my parents' place, and everything was gonna arrive on time. I'm like, wow, I did it. And again, this was in the midst of like packing up and cleaning my old apartment, moving into the new apartment, unpacking everything there. In the middle of all that, I'm like, oh, you gotta order gifts for the kids and stuff. Oh boy. And I did it. Great. Now I can just fly there. Everything will be there. And everything had arrived except one. My gift for my niece. And that was bad. UPS had said it was delivered, but it wasn't there.
Ooh.
And I found myself stuck in a position where I'm like, so it had said, and I hate, hey, UPS, and my dad's a FedEx driver, so I'm not mad at them, but UPS, you look out. Because they said, your package has been delivered, in quotes, to a locker. I'm like, okay, fucking where?
Okay.
I didn't say for it to go to a locker. It was supposed to go to this address like everything else went to. And so I'm like calling and trying to figure shit out. But everyone's over here. And so I'd had the thought like, oh, if they say a locker, maybe it's at the post office. The post office was only open for another hour or so. And I'm like, I can't leave because people were here visiting. My grandpa was here visiting, and I know because he's like me that as soon as if I were to just be like, "Hey, could you move your car?" He'd be like, "Oh no, I'll go home. I'll just leave." It's like, well, no, that's not what I want. You can stay here. Maybe I get someone else to move the car. Long story short, I'm getting stressed out and starting to just go like, maybe they just, because it happens all the time at my place, maybe they just dropped it off at a different address. I'm going to put my shoes on, put my jacket on, go outside, and just look at the neighbors. See if I see just a box there, and then look like a creepy box thief and try to find it. And I looked out there, and there was nothing. But then as I'm coming back from one of the houses where I'd looked at their step, no box there, I'm coming back, and I see my old neighbor from when I was a kid who knows me very, very well and has seen me 1 billion times. They've known me since I was like a baby, and the last time they'd seen me was less than a year ago. And I raised my arm and went, "Hey!" And they looked up at me and scowled. I'm like, okay, maybe they didn't recognize me. So I walked closer and was like, "Hey!" Same fucking thing. So I still don't have an answer to this because at a certain point you give up when a person you know really well isn't responding to hello. So I just like averted my gaze and walked away and checked the next house. But there's still just that. I'd be like, I'd really love to get to the bottom of this and just be like, it was me. I'm assuming he just didn't recognize me for some reason and thought I was like, maybe trying to sell him something or sign him up for a religion. But man,
yeah, I don't know how you'll feel about me asking this question, but based on prior stories you've told, I feel like I have to ask it and do my due diligence.
Wow.
Are you positive that was your neighbor who you know?
I am 100% sure. Or it was his doppelganger in his backyard.
All right.
Cleaning up his boxes.
Fair enough.
If that was the case, more fool me. I'll take that one. So long story short, I don't know what happened, and haven't talked to anyone in their family since then. But after like an hour, someone did drive up to the house and gave me that package and said, "Oh, UPS dropped this off at the wrong place." And I was like, man, no one would ever do that in Los Angeles. Like, holy shit, thank you so above and beyond. And
Yeah.
maybe they probably just assumed, they saw like roughly where it was coming from and were like, oh, this must be a Christmas present or something. So thanks to those kind strangers. But yeah, the UPS just literally like complete different place, like different neighborhood, different street name. Couldn't have fucked it up anymore. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Yeah,
but my niece got her toy and she loved it.
Great. My fiance had ordered something for my mom for Christmas, and it was supposed to be delivered on December 20th. Okay? And it showed up December 27th. Because some like Etsy sellers, when you order something, they like create the shipping label so that it like within the delivery window or whatever, they'll create the shipping label so that it's not like, so that it doesn't flag like the Etsy system or something that like they haven't delivered your item or something. I don't know how it works, but by creating the shipping label and then just like not shipping it, it tricks Etsy's like tracking system into thinking that it should have been delivered on time when it hasn't.
Awful.
You can still track it and see that it hasn't shipped, but the overall tracking system is like, well, you should have received it by now because the shipping label was created. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the world of shipping.
This is what I had learned, and my dad had some extra insight as a FedEx driver. He said this happens more and more often, and this is why I was thinking about. I didn't specify. I said I was thinking of going to the post office. You're like, wait, UPS? But apparently, a lot of these bigger delivery companies like UPS will get an item, and then instead of them having to deliver it to you, they deliver it to USPS, the postal service, and then they'll send it to you. So you'll get a notification saying it was delivered, for instance, to a locker, and that is on the date you're expecting it, but they just dropped it off to USPS, and you'll get it whenever they get it to you. How the fuck is that okay?
Wild.
That's horseshit. So I have to assume that's probably the same with Etsy. And it probably is related to every fucking company having their own delivery service now. Amazon. I blame you. Because it's fun.
Yeah.
You want to talk about COVID?
Speaking of blaming, let's talk about COVID.
That's a perfect...
Let's get real into our conspiracy theories about how and where it started.
Well, we'll start by acknowledging our love of tackling topics 3 years after they're popular, quote unquote.
Popular. Yep. Popular.
But a big part,
like every comedy themed podcast, we're gonna go after Dr. Fauci. What a cool thing for a comedy podcast to do 3 years later.
People are fascinating in that respect. I don't know. The guy did his best. He was trying to help.
Yep.
Get your vaccines. I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because I got COVID and it wasn't, I didn't die and I'm still able to breathe. That's lovely. I love these things about the COVID vaccine and its fellow boosters. Anyways, but your segue is a big part of kind of what I wanted to talk about, because as I said, my whole family ended up getting COVID, and there is still this is my first time. I'm new to the world of having the COVID, which was very exciting, thrilling. I felt like a real part of the year 2020, finally. And but there is this like I mean, not to call people out, but there is this specific, like, my dad blames himself because he was the first one that was feeling symptoms. And it's, again, he's a delivery driver, so he is out in the world. He talks to people, he sees people all the time. But then I'm like, well, who? It doesn't matter who brought it. It doesn't matter whose fault it was. One of us did, and we all got sick. But I'm like, it's very likely I picked it up on the plane because, like I was joking about earlier, it is going the fuck around. As soon as we got back to work from the holiday, two other of my coworkers said their entire family also got COVID over the holidays. So it's out there.
Yeah.
It could be anyone, but there is that anxiety, the paranoia, and like those awkward feelings of like, did I get everyone sick? Did I fucking do this?
Yeah. I mean, were there, because I definitely had this on some of my flights too. Was anybody on your flight just straight up like coughing up their lungs? Because that was definitely a thing I experienced on one of those flights too.
I did.
Somebody
I'm trying to
loudly talking
remember.
on speakerphone and then occasionally turning their head away from their phone to cough an insanely loud noise.
I can't remember if it was on the plane or just in the airport, but there was definitely a moment where someone had a big old coughing fit. That's like,
Yeah.
throwback trauma. Just like, oh shit. There was one person on my flight, and here's the other thing. We roll back. I love to roll back, not really to 2020, but that's what I'm rolling back to today. And you think back to those times, and when I would even say on this podcast, like, I'll probably just continue wearing a mask in public places. I'll probably just wear a mask to the grocery store every time I did. And I did for years, but I have stopped since. And on that flight, one person was wearing a mask. And it makes you wonder, like, are they just still paranoid? Maybe they had COVID. Maybe they took their mask off once the plane took off. They were behind me. I don't know. I didn't see.
Yeah.
You're always looking for that scapegoat, someone to blame.
Totally.
And at the end of the day, we all just got sick. Happens.
Was not having COVID a point of pride for you, having gone essentially 3 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I, of course, famously had it a year and a half ago. So
we all talk about it.
I've just been waiting for you to join us. The infected.
The infected among us. Yeah, it sucks. I don't want it again. It really sucks.
It sucks.
I don't recommend it. And the one thing I was unaware of, and I don't know if that's just all COVID, maybe if you experienced this or not, but the big difference between it and just like having the flu, it did just feel like the symptoms were changing every fucking day. But the idea of the wave of it, where it's like you will just have moments on like day 3 of it where you're like, I think I'm like 100%. And then just like later that day for like an hour, you'll just be like, oh, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And then it just like swings back to like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm okay. That was bizarre. Yeah.
I did have that a little bit. It is interesting where like people are like, it's just like having the flu. Like, I haven't had the flu in a long time. I will admit.
Sure.
But this sure as shit felt a lot different to me.
That's it just kind of felt like every sickness I've ever had just kind of taking turns. Yeah. Symptoms taking turns in my body.
Yeah. The Avengers assemble of symptoms. And each one just doing a number on me. Yeah. And like, at this point, I'd say I'm like 95 or better %. It's mostly just I got a little bit of congestion.
So you might hear that in my voice. Believe it or not, I might be clearing my throat every now and then.
Who had it the worst in your family?
Oh, yes.
Was it you?
Honestly, we all were on that same little roller coaster because we all started our symptoms on different days. But what happened to us was like exactly the same. It was like day one, like sore throat, exhaustion. Day two, like full on flu, like body chills and achy bones, all that. The worst shit that you never want. With a little bit of nausea and there's some digestive issues, if you will. That was the worst of it. And then the sore throat just completely went away. Still a little bit of chills, exhaustion, and then the nose got clogged up. And then after that, it was like head cold city. Just my entire everything was in my head. And then it was just like a congested nose. And I've been riding that, slowly getting better day by day. But yeah, it seems like everyone in my family, it was the almost exact same boom, boom, boom. Like we just hit all the same steps together. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say any one of us had it worse than the other.
Okay. I think when I had it worse than my fiance did. And I think she also, I mean, she got it from somebody that we worked with, I think, and then gave it to me. But I don't know that I passed it on to anybody else. I'm not sure. But definitely the like her passing it to me and then me having it worse was like not a great combo in my eyes.
That feels unfair.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But you do just kind of end up having to sit around and hope you don't die. But in order to quell those thoughts, there was a lot of programming that boomed during peak COVID times. Of course, everybody talks about Tiger King. When we had it, we watched a lot of that Japanese show Old Enough, where they send the little kids out on errands.
I forgot about that show.
That was our big COVID show. Did you have a COVID show of your own now that 3 years post the main surge?
We, as we talked before we started recording, there's a bunch of new movies out there, shit you can rent on Apple. So we've been watching a lot of movies, catching up on some expected Oscar contenders. And then no, not really. We started watching HBO's Hacks or Max's Hacks.
Max's Hacks.
Max Hacks. And enjoying that. Almost done with the first season, but yeah. So my I think that's my sick, because I'm happy to watch shitty reality TV or whatever pretty much anytime. When I'm sick, that's my excuse for like, I always heard that was a good show. Let's check out that show that started years ago. See how that goes. But yeah, pretty fun.
Are you gonna watch? It'll have come out by the time we release this, but coming out tomorrow from when we're recording this. Are you gonna watch The Golden Wedding, Evan?
I didn't watch any of The Golden Bachelor, but my parents did. So not out of the question. I could.
Are they glad he picked Teresa? Well, after he told the other two in his final 3 that he loved them.
Not so golden now, are we, Bachelor? You old bitch. I did kind of want to watch that when it was being announced, but I just never got around to it. I like old people loving each other. I'll watch that any day.
Interesting.
Instead, I had watched when it came out, also on Max. I'm just a Max loyalist. My mom and your dad.
You have to work really hard to make sure you watch stuff before David Zaslav removes it unceremoniously.
It's true. I'm really fighting to keep up. But that show, hosted by Yvonne Orgy, with kids setting up their parents in a dating show. It wasn't great, but it's cute watching old people get nervous and go like, "Oh, I have feelings." I like your feelings, old people. Keep them coming.
Looking back at COVID and the height of the pandemic,
yes.
Are there things about it that you find awkward or strange or cringeworthy, like that we as a society were doing during that main time?
It is. Oh man, it's so going through this right now definitely has brought back some of that, or rather, just made me realize how much of that is trauma that I have erased from my brain and don't acknowledge at all, because a lot of it's come back. And the other day, one of my sisters they had found some old screenshots from the COVID times when we were all Zoom chatting with each other because, didn't see each other for a couple of years there or whatever. And that, I wouldn't say I found it cringy to think back on that, but it did make me feel it made me feel really weird. I didn't really like looking back at it. It freaked me out. I'm like, yeah, that was a weird time. It was a weird time. And I don't know. I mean, I lived alone the whole fucking time. It was a very lonely period. And the only time I would talk to people is on the phone or through Zoom. And Zoom has now become so integrated into my work life that it's like, I don't think about that. But something about seeing those photos did make me go like, no, I don't want to go back.
Yeah. I mean, aside from when it seemed like we as a society were caring about workers and wanting to compensate them well, until the pandemic was over and then the government said, psych.
Gotcha.
We just said that so that you wouldn't quit your jobs and we could still buy our groceries.
Yeah.
But anyway, other than that, the thing that I remember about the pandemic, and it's tough because this was always, or at least almost always, for charity and for a good cause. So it's tough to be like, yeah, but that it felt weird. Was any show or movie, especially that has been off the air for almost a decade, came back to do a Zoom reunion.
Right. They were all pretty bad.
And some of them were good, but it just felt very strange.
Yeah.
To have every show come back and be like, this is how our characters would handle the pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. It was a bizarre choice.
I think and you're right that so much of that was for charities or for workers or whatever. But I just kind of across the board didn't. I watched all of them because what else are you going to do? But I didn't. It kind of broke something for me where, I remember in particular after things had kind of gone back into production. And then hey, people think one way or the other about this shit. I don't give a shit. I loved This Is Us. That's a great fucking show. And then when that show came back after the pandemic and they're COVID was real in our world. We're all wearing masks. And that was the first show I remember realizing, like, I don't need that. I don't want that. I want your show to not have COVID in it. I don't want to fucking hear about COVID anymore. So looking back on all of those, I'm like, yeah, I think that broke something for me where I'm like, oh, it's the old cast of Parks and Recreation. Great. I love them. Oh, they're dealing with COVID too? That sucks. That's the last thing I want is to know that Leslie Knope is dealing with COVID. That sucks.
Yeah.
It didn't make me feel like connected to them. It made the world break. It made the comedy world break. And I needed escapism, not hey, what if all of my favorite television characters were also miserable and at home?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if this one was first, but like I think Monk might have been the first one to do it.
Oh,
which
I
like
didn't see the Monk one,
but that was like as a PSA and less of a like fundraiser. And I was like kind of okay. I don't even know if I watched all of it, but I was kind of okay with it because it like that at least fit his character.
Exactly.
Of like, hey, I've been a germaphobe for years. Let me help you out.
Wonder what would Monk do in this situation,
right?
Like in a pandemic. Oh, Monk would hate this shit. He would, he'd be washing his hands so much. But
you're right. Like the Parks and Rec team, I was like, I don't care what you guys do with COVID. When Brooklyn Nine-Nine came back, one of their first like cold opens, they were talking about COVID and they were wearing masks, and I was like, even though COVID's still happening, this already feels dated. And I don't want Peralta and Boyle to be like talking about COVID. Like that sucks.
No. It's all we've been doing in our lives is sitting at home and on Zoom and talking about COVID. It's not fun.
Yeah.
And it makes you the worst part is like not the worst part. The worst part about COVID is some of these TV specials. But like, no, there was a show I love that I still love. No, I can't think of the name of it. Rob McElhenney's other show,
Mythic
on
Quest?
Apple Plus. Mythic Quest. I love Mythic Quest. But they went beyond, and it wasn't just like a special episode. It's an episode. It's like in the middle of a season, which ended up getting extended because of COVID. They just did an actual episode of the show. So, like, my Jocelyn had never watched it, and we were watching Mythic Quest, and then we got to that episode, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like, this is actually an episode of the season, and there's like plot points going on in it. But I have no interest in watching this ever, and I can't imagine what that'll be like 10, 20 years from now if anyone wants to go back and watch any of these shows where in the middle of the season there's actually a full episode that's just, oh, we're all on Zoom. Bad. COVID was bad for entertainment.
I know. It's weird because, like, you know, COVID highlighted how like important entertainment and arts are to like society and our culture, because it was like one of the only things people could do. People just sat around and watched TV and movies. And then the entertainment world took that and was like, okay, let me make an Anne Hathaway Chiwetel Ejiofor heist movie during COVID. Let me make not an anthology movie, but a multi-storyline movie set during COVID, but it's post-apocalyptic and they're ripping people from their homes. Bad. All COVID entertainment is bad.
Yeah. And you want to compare that to, you know, the Dust Bowl? You got fucking Grapes of Wrath out of that shit. What am I supposed to look at? The COVID
I'm
episode of
sure-
Mythic Quest?
I'm sure that like some writer or director is going to continue to make COVID based stories, right?
And this is where
eventually, just statistically, one of them will probably be good. But
absolutely.
we don't want them. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
no. I mean, and
when one comes out that's good, it'll be fine. But like, this sucks.
But it felt similar to after 9/11. There were multiple 9/11 movies that came out, and it was kind of we don't want this. But I would say two of them in particular, I thought were very fucking good movies, and I watched them, and I was like, all right, it's been done. We can stop. we don't need any more. I don't need to relive that. I think we can be grateful.
Which two did you like? United 93 and World Trade Center, or
boom, baby?
Which I'm trying to think of the two that you liked.
There were those, and then there was like the story of United 93, but made for TV, and that was awful. I forget what that was called. That was a terrible fucking movie. Holy shit. And then, you got your Reign Over Me's and shit like that. Your 9/11 adjacent.
Yeah, your made for TV James Woods is Rudy Giuliani.
I didn't know that happened. But that's
if
nothing else, it's good casting.
It's
not a movie I'd want to watch. That's good. That's good casting. Long story short, just COVID. I don't know. Maybe that's just a collective, multi-generational thing. But just those of us that were of a certain age when it was happening, just never going to want that ever. What I was going to say, this is important. I'm glad I remembered this. It's important to say we need to be glad that what James Cameron got sucked into, what she won't let go, is the world of Avatar and the world of water. Because he's an obsessive man.
The way of
he
water.
Easily could have just been like, you know what? The COVID universe is all I want to make movies about anymore. And he's just got a 20-year plan for 7 movies about COVID. That would suck so bad. That would make me so sad. I'd way rather go back to Pandora and see this fire world he has coming out. I don't need immersive COVID entertainment. Fuck off.
No. And like, I mean, I guess it's probably, I guess, I don't know why. Maybe it just can be boiled down to like a much simpler good versus evil thing. But like, World War II movies have come out like over and over again.
Sure.
People love them.
Yeah.
They love to see another story set in World War II. But like, do we think that COVID could ever become our generation's World War II of entertainment?
It's tough to say. I think realistically, it's just too vague of a topic, and there's not those easy villains and heroes, except for the workers.
Yeah, do you remember those videos where people would just step out onto their balcony and applaud and
I do.
Whoop and holler in support of workers who were not able to hear them because they were working?
Correct. And it was all definitely for the workers and not for the people doing it themselves. Who needed a covert little look at me moment.
Yeah.
I just remember because when I would be zooming with my Seattle friends, it was going on. That was going on because that was such a big New York thing, but it was going on in Seattle too. And I'd be on with them, and it would be like, I forget what it was like 8 o'clock every night. They would do it. I'd be like, man, I'm glad I'm not experiencing this. That sucks.
We would be remiss to not bring up this part of COVID entertainment. And of course, I'm talking about the Gal Gadot and many other celebrities' Imagine video.
Imagine that.
Where the thing I love about it is that you just had to do the lyrics, but it didn't matter what melody you did them to.
Nope.
It was like every celebrity had heard a different cover of Imagine.
Apparently. Yeah, it's funny. I think that's a lovely little nugget of pop culture history. And I haven't watched it in forever. I'm almost tempted to just like pull it up and screen share so we can relive it. But it's just like, it's so lovely how completely like what it is this to me. It's an insight into each person. And like, it's a how you interpreted the task behind the scenes thing that's fascinating to me is like the difference between the person that like just picks up their phone and goes, imagine all the people. And then someone that's like, living for today. Oh, sweet Christ. And it's funny. It's very funny.
It is funny. It's very funny.
Oh God, it's good. It is. I bet it is. I think it's our generation's. What's that? The Christmas song. There won't be snow in Africa this Christmas time. I think that was the goal. And thank God it's them instead of you.
I hope that they start playing that Imagine video in like retail stores.
Like, fuck yeah.
Just the audio of it.
We can make this happen. HowDoWeHuman can make this happen.
Yeah.
I believe it. On the back to the now of it all, though, I do want to talk about, because I mean, obviously COVID, wildly controversial in some circles. The vaccine, even more controversial. But somehow, some way, I would argue, even beyond the vaccine, the most controversial part of that time was masks. Whether you wear them, whether you don't. Should it or could it ever possibly offend someone else to be wearing a mask? And somehow, yes. So
I shouldn't have to wear a mask because when I wear it, it smells bad. And that must be the mask and not my own breath.
Yeah, that probably means there's particles in the mask that are going to kill me. So I can't.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Every time I put on a mask, it's like there's something in front of my face. And I hate that.
Yeah, I hate it.
I needed to... there was one trip that I needed to make 2 stops while I still had COVID and was right on that edge of your being contagious part, which that's a whole nother side of it, is like forgetting the rules of it. Like I was having to Google stuff. It's just been so long and I had never gotten it before. I'm like, what are the rules here? I'm quarantining for 5 days, 10 days. When am I not contagious? Am I getting better? I don't fucking know. So it was weird reliving through all that and trying to get a handle on it. But I had to, long story short, I don't want to get into it too much. It was a pain in the ass. But long story short, I had to cancel my initial flight because of the COVID, because I'm trying to be responsible and not continue spreading this everywhere. But I had bought the Saver fare on Alaska, so I wasn't able to get money back from that. But I'd also bought insurance, but insurance sucks. It wasn't worth buying. So in order to make a claim and try to get my money back for the flight, I couldn't use a personal test. I had to get a test from a doctor. So I had to drive into Olympia to go to the Kaiser out there and get an official COVID test. And believe it or not, that test also said I sure as shit do have COVID. But so I had to go
Interesting.
there. I know, right? The other 2 tests also said that, but thank God this one, which also was just me doing a nasal swab by myself. Thank God this one said that I had COVID. But so I had to go in, and I'm wearing a heavy duty N95 mask, and it was weird being in a hospital and given that where it's like I know I have COVID, I'm putting a mask on, I'm staying away from people, but it's just like no one else in here has a mask on, and I'm like, I bet so many of, because I know it's going around, I bet so many of these people have COVID and no one's wearing a mask, and people are kind of looking at me, or maybe that was in my head. But the other place I did have to go, and this to be fair, this was after I was officially no longer contagious. I knew for a fact I had to, because I wasn't planning on being here this long. I had to buy this sucker in order to podcast, because we've never skipped and we never will ever until death.
Yeah, I mean that is like similar to not getting COVID. Like that is my point of pride. It's like we've not missed an episode.
When I suggested that, and again, it was like I'm like 95% better. I just need to run to Walmart to pick up a microphone, and my dad's like, or you could just take the week off, you know. Like, no, we can't.
No,
the show must go on. But so I even though I knew I was no longer contagious and I wasn't having major symptoms anymore, I'm like, I'm still gonna wear a mask. To even maybe that's wrong, and maybe I still could get someone sick. But B, I've already rescheduled my flight, and if I fucking get sick again, I'm gonna be furious. So I'm just like, I just have to wear a mask. And man, wearing a mask around a Walmart, that was a feeling. Easily the only person in a mask there. And man, Walmart people, that's the people. They don't like it. They don't like a mask.
Yep.
Not fans in the Aberdeen Walmart. What they are fans of, and I'm glad that hasn't changed, drugs. The people at the Walmart, they love their drugs. But God forbid someone who was recently sick with COVID wears a mask in public. So just here to report, that's still a thing, and it's still weird and awkward, and people suck.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I want to say that you did the right thing, Evan, by extending your trip, not continuing to spread it.
Yeah,
but it is like, it feels like such a rare thing now for people that get it to like still do that. And like the attitude seems to like have shifted to like,
oh
well, everybody else is gonna have to deal with it. Yeah,
I mean, they're just gonna have to grow up.
We're gonna live our lives.
We're just gonna get it all the time. I don't.
It's just like the worst flu you've ever had.
Yeah, just fucking get it every year. This was a general like wake up call though, of like, I think because we already knew that like a matter of years ago, it was like, this is going to, it stopped being a pandemic, it became endemic, and it's like, this is going to be kind of an annual thing. And I think this, for me at least, and maybe that's just selfish because I experienced it, but for me, I'm like, I think that's just it. I think it's just Christmas, and I'm like, if I fly over Christmas, when I stay in hotels, maybe I will just wear a mask. I don't know. I don't want to do this dance again. This sucked.
I know. I am going to probably need to get the booster here before the wedding and honeymoon so that I don't
That's a good thought.
Get knocked out for those. But yeah.
It's not, fuck that.
Sucks.
Sucks. But you know what doesn't suck? I don't know.
This podcast?
Are we ending the episode? I just started.
I don't know.
I don't know what time we're at because the recording goes in.
The only thing that we The only thing we got on Instagram was we do still have a listener,
Hey.
classic listener, all star. Jordan Parker says that he still has never had COVID-19 as far as he knows. Fingers crossed emoji. And hey, we cross those fingers in solidarity with you, and hope that you never get it. Because even though people try to tell you that it's not that bad,
Nothing.
it sure feels bad.
It sucks. It's not fun.
Sucks pretty hard.
This probably wasn't even intended for this, but I'm going to read it anyways. My sister did text me and say, just saw you're doing a podcast episode about COVID. My sister, who also had COVID, she says, yes, I have had it. Haha. Can't wait to listen to that one. So I hope you found the time in your day, maybe on a run. You're listening to it right now, and we're both healthy as shit. What a dream.
Love that for you. And the other thing I love is imagine all the places you could find this podcast: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Casts, HowDoWeHuman.com, and the rest. Anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can rate, review. I almost said polish. I don't know why. You can rate, review, polish
your How Do We Human collection. Dirty.
Spread the good How Do We Human word across this great big globe of ours, so that more people can find it. You can also check us out on our social media. You can find us on Instagram at HowDoWeHuman.
Hey, what got that handle?
You can check us out on Facebook at HowDoWeHuman.
I don't think you're ready for that handle.
On YouTube at HowDoWeHuman.
Imagine all the handles.
Or send us an email to howdowehumanpod@gmail.com.
The best part of that handle is that it's an email.
Evan, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I just got a text message saying Happy New Year. And we didn't even discuss that happened. It is the new year. The year is 2024 now. And I think it's time to put to bed the idea of the year
doing
New
plugs?
Year's glasses of doing plugs of these New Year's glasses with the years for eyes. Listen, 2025, it's not going to work. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do? It's going to be stupid. You can't make them. And the sooner we accept that, the sooner we'll be free of this plague on our society. This was the real pandemic all along. So what I'm thinking, it can't just disappear. You can't have a hole, like a vacuum. New Year's would come and people wouldn't know what the fuck to do. So I'm just thinking, like, big chains, say 2025, and just everyone's got the same chain.
Does it hang low? I really want to know.
To and fro.
Okay. Answered
all
question. Love
the
it.
People wearing 2025 chains. Imagine 2 chains. Think he's not going to have 2025 chains? Hey, Chris.
He will. Yeah.
What do you got going on?
Eventually we're going to get that final season of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
and their little synthy theme song has been pretty popular, but I've written a new theme song. Of course, due to my deal with Netflix, I can't share the whole thing with you.
Yeah.
But I can give you a little snippet. It goes, Maya he, Maya hawk. And so I hope that that the Duffer Brothers decide to include that. But so look forward to that in the new season of Stranger Things.
Did you know that from the very first episode of Stranger Things, when I saw their name come up, every time I watch a new episode of Stranger Things, when their name comes up, I say, the Duffer Brothers. And I've just done that since episode 1. And it brings me joy.
Interesting.
Put it on your vision boards, ladies.
All right.
Ladies. Put me saying that on your vision boards. Oh, we should have done a vision board episode. Maybe next year. Look forward to
maybe
it.
Next year.
2025 chains. Making vision boards. But until then, it's just 2024. And bye.
Bye.
Bye.